What is up, guys? It is Joe. We're back. We're talking all about the Cats, specifically K-State, both sports, I guess. K-State football, K-State basketball, as a recruiting update is necessary, my friends. Now, quick caveat, background's different. I'm back home in KC for the weekend. Moving my girlfriend to Hutch. She's got a rotation in Hutchinson at the hospital there for her next stay. She graduates in August. We'll be back here in KC soon, so hopefully I'll get to chop it up with you guys here in KC here in the near future. But let's jump right in today because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about, and I know that people are not at a good time with K-State basketball. I know that you look at the product and say, well, this stinks. This isn't a great time. You know, we're not doing things right, and there's not a ton to be excited about. Football, it's well, you had all the talent. You finished 9-4. Where you at? I understand that we're kind of in a weird spot right now with both sports. That being said, I think it's quick and easy to see. Obviously, football is going to be primed for a college football playoff-esque run this season if all goes according to plan. Basketball, I understand we're not, in contention for the Big 12 title immediately. We're not in contention for a national championship. We don't have, we have glaring holes on our team. That being said, it's not going to stop me from talking about what can make the Cats better, and I'm really excited to jump into the recruiting updates because there's high school stuff, there's transfer portal stuff coming down the pipeline here soon, and I'm excited to be on my A game for that coverage. So I'm stepping into that realm real quick today. We're closing in on 2,000 subs. I think we're like 30 away. 3,000 subs. I'm getting a K-State Cat script tattoo. So be sure to hit the subscribe button because it helps out immensely. Now, folks, I've got 3 prospects I want to talk about in today's video. 2 on the basketball court, 1 on the gridiron. And I'm going to start with 1 basketball prospect, jump to football, jump back to basketball so I can give you a little bit of both worlds. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm really excited about the prospects of what's coming up through Kansas State. And I'll start with basketball because we have more than that. Obviously, we have more prospects to talk about. Let me jump in here because there's a visit unfolding for Kansas State sports. Someone that we've already talked about extensively on the YouTube channel. Someone headed to Manhattan, Kansas here in the near future. That is Ashton Magee, a 6'7" small forward. A guy that is really just an athlete above the rest, like an unbelievable athlete, but a full, well-rounded player. Someone that's garnering more and more respect, and recently a big change has happened. When we talked about him in the last video, you can go see the full video on my channel. It's probably a couple weeks old by now when K-State sent the offer towards Ashton McGee. A kid that's really, really underrated, under-recruited for no reason. I mean, it's ridiculous. The kid is an absolute athlete. Should be at least a 3-star, 4-star type kid. He has that type of talent. ESPN has him ranked as a 4-star, but ESPN's recruiting service is kind of garbage, full disclosures. But regardless, Ashton McGee is set to visit Kansas State, and I wanted to kind of give you some stats because he has been balling in his senior year. Let's talk about this real quick. So according to a report from, it's an overall scout guru type dude who just knows immense amounts of ball. We'll talk about him a couple times in today's video. Armin Jovic, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's a guy that really highlights his guys. It's kind of like a Jonathan Givney, I don't know how to say that other dude's name, but NBA draft guys that really, really know their stuff and say, okay, this is a player to watch. If he's saying that, he's probably a player to watch, to be perfectly honest with you. He's really, really adapted to Ashton McGee as a player in this class to watch, and he set up an announcement saying, hey, the 6'7", 2025 player will conduct an official visit to Kansas State this week. The 6'7" center, for reference, has been averaging 23.5 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 3.2 blocks per game, 57% shooting from the floor, and 33.1% from 3 on 4.1 attempts. He's one of the best athletes in the 2025 class. I cannot disagree with that. I think this would be an incredible ad, and I want to talk about that because I know that people are kind of, up in arms a little bit about the basketball staff of, going a little bit too big or swinging for the fences constantly, not, backing it up with singles and doubles. Ashton McGee is a guy whose recruitment has picked up ridiculous. I mean, he's jumped from a spot where he had 4 offers when we last talked about him. Now he's got like double-digit offers. I'll read you those right now. In terms of Kansas State, we're probably the biggest offer alongside Ole Miss. I know there's some interest with Mississippi State, but hasn't gotten the offer, I don't believe. So the teams already interested in him, or that have already offered him: Georgia State, Bethune-Cookman, Georgia Southern, Kansas State, Monmouth, New Mexico State, New Orleans, Nicholls State, Norfolk State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Stetson, and USF. Now, that's a ton of different teams, especially from 3 weeks ago when he had 4 offers. The kid has really, really picked it up in terms of the recruiting aspect, but I really like the type of player he is, and I want to say this because I think this is a good way to look at it. Kansas State has not necessarily been doing the right way of how do we build this program for the future? It's been kind of this transfer portal aspect of let's go all in on the portal. We'll have 1 high school kid, 2 high school kids per class, and we'll go from there. That's a lesson you learn the hard way. It stinks. It didn't quite work out either of the 2 seasons. And now you're starting to realize, okay, we need to build this foundation. Ashton McGee is the perfect kid to go after as a foundation builder. Listening to the people around him talk about him, his coaches love him, his teammates love him, just like a true ultimate high-character dude, but he also is a ridiculous athlete, one of the best dunkers in the entire country, also has the ability to go up against high-upside, five-star type dudes and clash with them. Like, he's got that ability, he's got the speed, and I feel like he'd be a diamond-in-the-rough type player. So really, really love the addition if we can get this thing happening. Something to watch for. I think Kansas State's in a good spot. We'll see what happens going forward, but I really like what I see from Ashton McGee. Once again, go watch the full video on him for some more highlights. There's a ton of stuff to talk about in that video as well, but Ashton McGee, a guy I really, really like in this class. Moving to football, we'll jump sports here real quick as I transition over to Chris Kleiman from Jerome Tang. Now, K-State's football recruiting path in the class of 2026 hasn't been great. Haven't had a ton of interest, haven't had a ton of big upside dudes. That being said, there's been some big names we've already talked about. One of them being Jakore Smith, a linebacker from Little Rock, Arkansas. One of the top players in his state. He is currently listed as a top 200 player, a 4-star, a consensus 4-star industry-wide. Listed as the number 199th ranked player in the class, the 12th ranked player at his position, and the 2nd ranked player in the state of Arkansas. Now, his offer list is ridiculous. It's impressive. But we'll talk about his connection to Kansas State here in a second. But let me read you through this offer list because it's another one that's, truly insane to hear. Starting off with Oklahoma State, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Kansas State, Michigan, Mississippi State, Missouri, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. By no stretch of the imagination is this going to be an easy recruitment, but Kansas State has an official visit set up for Jakori Smith. Heading to Manhattan, heading to the Little Apple will be cool to see. According to a report from 24/7 Sports' Tom Loy, who does a great job with all the recruiting stuff, Jakori Smith is set to visit a couple of different schools, including Texas A&M on March 22nd for an unofficial visit. He's got another unofficial to Oklahoma on March 8th. Then he's got 3 official visits lined up, so 2 unofficials to OU and Texas A&M. Then he's got officials to Oklahoma State, K-State, and Arkansas. The K-State visit is set for May 29th, directly in between the April 18th visit to Oklahoma State and the June 20th visit to Arkansas. This is what Tom Loy had to say about him because I think it's a great thing to read back to you guys. Smith is a tremendous prospect. He's a thumper who embraces contact and a prospect who can run at a very high level. On the field last fall, Smith helped lead Parkview Magnet to 13-1 record with a 3rd consecutive Arkansas 5A state title. That's a three-peat, boys. The man's a 3-time state champion in the last 3 years. He's one of the instrumental pieces in that run. Someone that I'm really, really excited to watch his recruitment unfold. Obviously, the hometown Razorbacks are going to be tough to beat, but Kansas State getting the official is a big deal, and we'll have to talk about how he clicks and unfolds with a guy like Joe Klanderman and the developing linebacker room at K-State. If anything, you're already riding high with 3 of the best linebackers. You've got the best linebacker unit in the Big 12 in my mind right now, if obviously a guy like Gabe Powers hits, which I feel like he will. So it's a good time to sell the linebacker room coming out of Kansas State. So something to pay attention on the football field there. And the third prospect I want to talk about in today's video is another basketball prospect going more of an international route, a kid that has played in Overtime Elite, which is a professional sports organization. It's kind of its own pseudo-alternative route to college. That being said, guys can go from that to college just like that. Overtime Elite is known for names of guys like 5 stars. You've got Malik Thomas. You've got Shona Bayev. You've got a ton of different dudes that are really, really big-time players. Obviously, Malik Thomas was the 4th-ranked player in his class. K-State was tied into him for a while, trying to work to get him from Arkansas. He ends up committing to John Calipari at Arkansas. But the guy we're going to talk about today is a 6'8" forward. This is Thomas Bassong. He's a French basketball player that has become one of the best defenders at that level I've seen yet. He is truly the best defender in all of Overtime Elite. And to expand a little bit more on Overtime Elite, let me give you the quick background. Overtime Elite is a basketball league and media company for 16 to 20-year-old players. It's offering a path to professional basketball outside of college. It was founded in 2021. OTE created an accredited private high school based in Atlanta, Georgia, with an 8-team league. The organization provides players with training, education, and exposure to NBA scouts, college coaches, and brands. Tons of different people have invested in the league. Jeff Bezos invested in it. Also, NBA players like Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, a ton of dudes are really invested in Overtime Elite, mostly because you have 5-star guys just running through the league left and right. That being said, Thomas Bassong, who's an international prospect, so not ranked currently in terms of, overall metrics, just got an offer from Kansas State. He's fresh off a visit to UCF. He has been absolutely incredible in league play this year. And also, he's turning the eyes of NBA scouts left and right. I mentioned Armin Jovic earlier. Let's read what he had to say about Thomas Bassong, because he's truly a guy that's caught a lot of different eyes at that level. And this is what he had to say. Bassong is a long, lengthy player with a motor that most players don't have. It doesn't matter who the kid is on offense, he'll clamp you up full court. He's held top stars like Malik Thomas, we mentioned that, Jasper Johnson, Shona Bayev, and Caden Magwood to their roughest games of the year against him. Not only has he been the best defender in Overtime Elite, he's also been one of the best offensive prospects. He's averaging 16 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.2 blocks per game, on nearly 50% shooting from the field and 35% from 3 on just about 5 attempts per game. He's a smooth, lengthy, athletic 6'8" guard who will guard opposing teams' best scorers. Long term, I think he's an NBA player. You absolutely love to hear that. And then another account followed that up with his own take, quote tweeting that post saying, Bassong is honestly one of the most underrated unsigned players in next year's class. He would be a ridiculously good ad for any college basketball team. He also mentioned that he's going to be playing with the national team for France this summer in the under-19 league. Or the under-19 designation, something that K-State's already seen with David Gasson, a guy that's had international, training, and not training per se, but international work with their team. It'd be a good ad, it'd be an awesome dude, and I'd be stoked. Like, this is an NBA player on your team. And Kansas State's finding ways to go about it where it's not just, okay, we need to swing after the 5-star guys that are going to be one-and-done type players. Thomas Bassong might be in college for 1 year, he might be in college for 3 or 4. But the thing you like to see is just like, he is a ridiculous athlete. You're seeing the highlights right now as we speak. Just someone that you really, really feel could absolutely come be a culture guy and be an NBA player. Kansas State is finding guys that have that type of upside without having to send, okay, this is going to be $2.5 million in NIL just to get a freshman kid here for a one-and-done season. These are kids that you can go a different route with, get them to Kansas State, see what they can do. These would be incredible ads. All three of them in their, both their various sports, they would be incredible to watch. I'll update you guys as that process continues. But in terms of what's next, obviously Ashton McGee on an official visit to Kansas State soon. I don't know when soon is, but probably the next home game for K-State so we can be there at the environment, I assume, even if it might be a little bit quiet with the team struggling. It feels like the basketball team is building things the right way. Like, this is the culture you want to see. Go get guys that are going to be in your program for 2 and 3 years and be culture-defining dudes. For football, Chris Klieman deserves his flowers. I don't have to tell him how to build his team. He knows exactly what he's doing. Jakore Smith would be an awesome pickup and a really great culture fit in Manhattan. But guys, that'll do it for today's video. Just wanted to make a quick recruiting update heading into the month of March. The portal's opening soon, folks. We're getting close every single day, and there's going to be a ton of portal coverage, so I'm bracing you guys for that in advance. It's going to be a lot, but folks, I'm excited to talk to you here soon. Once again, hit the subscribe button. It helps out immensely. I'll be back home at my home studio here in the next couple days, so you'll see the green room behind me again soon. But guys, that'll do it. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Go Cats.